Friday, May 14th. Hanging with me from Brooklyn, New York, as always, Mr. Robert Lee Davis. How are you today, Rob?
I'm good. It's bright and sunny.
It's bright and sunny here in Colorado, too, but we are going to be getting rain for the next week, which we love rain in Colorado because we don't get enough of it. We get plenty of sun, though. People don't
Wow.
realize
We
that.
got too much rain here for the last 2 weeks, so
So you're done. We've gotten a lot of
we're
rain, and
done.
we're like, hey, we like it. Like I said, I mean, we get drought conditions. We're planning, we'll have wildfires, later on this summer. So the more rain we have now, the better we'll
Oh
be.
my
So,
God. They had crazy wildfires out in California. I was talking with
mm.
Michael Wilder about it.
How is Michael?
He's good.
Yeah,
He's good. The fires came, I understood everything correctly, like
yeah.
within, like 2 blocks of his house.
Oh wow. For those of you who don't
Yeah.
know who Michael is, he's one of our roommates from college.
Yes, right from college. Good guy. Producer out in
Producer
La La Land.
of I believe the show is Outdaughtered. Is that not correct?
Outdaughtered.
Outdaughtered.
Yes.
Which is literally a guy who has a bunch of daughters, a family who has a bunch of daughters. Is that not what it is?
Michael Wilder, is not outdoor because
No,
he
no, no.
only has
He
one.
is not outdaughtered.
Yeah.
Daughtered. It just sounded like I was from New York for a second. He's not outdaughtered. But
So what's new?
what's new? Well, let's start like with some cannabis stuff. We're gonna get, we gotta, you and me are gonna talk politics or whatever's prevalent in the world, and so we'll get into you know, the obvious, right? The ousting of the one honest Republican, the one quote unquote honest Republican right
I
now.
don't know if I'm going to give her all that.
That's what I'm saying. I was like, quote unquote, like, so you're honest about the big lie, right? You're honest that the
Yeah.
big lie is the big lie, and that's like now taboo in the Republican Party. So we'll talk about Liz Cheney and the fact that she's not there, and of course they rewarded somebody who's a complete Trumpian to now take her leadership position, which is crazy.
Yes,
But let's
indeed.
talk about some medical cannabis news. I always like to, we've talked in the past. Recreational is great. I'm glad that there's access for anybody who's 21 and over. But sometimes it overshadows the medicinal benefits of cannabis because are thinking of it as just now like it's alcohol. Like, okay, you can just buy it over 21. You can buy, you can consume it. Yeah, it's safer than alcohol. Great, but it's a medicine. It's absolutely a medicine, and I think we need to keep talking about this on a regular basis. So there was a study that came out, and I have this written down, who came from the British Medical Association Journal, the BMJ or BMAJ, I don't know what they would call the journal,
Okay.
but they did this study, and they had published it just a couple months ago, but I hadn't had a chance to talk about it. So they did a study, it was 23 states they studied from 2014 to 2018. And what they found was that overall, in counties where the number of dispensaries increased from 1 to 2 dispensaries, there was a 17% reduction in opioid related deaths, which
Mm.
I think is fascinating. First of all, that
Yes.
there's a correlation. They say correlation is not causation or whatever, but really there is, because when you study all these states, 23 states, they found this kind of across the board. And so let me repeat that again. When a county increased the amount of dispensaries from 1 to 2 dispensaries, there was a 17% reduction in opioid related fatalities. By the way, the reduction was even greater if you only associated with synthetic opioids, which basically means like you could say methadone is a synthetic opioid, but fentanyl is the one that really comes to mind. That's the one that's 50 to 100
Right,
times
right.
more potent. And so while there's 17% reduction in opioid-related fatalities, there was a 21% reduction in opioid-related fatalities when it came to synthetic opioids. And so that's a really important statistic to talk about. And there are other correlating statistics when it comes to cannabis usage I've talked about before. There was a across the board 9% reduction in vehicular deaths because people were consuming cannabis more than they were consuming alcohol, or more, less alcohol, more cannabis as it legalized. What's more interesting also, and what helps to me prove that this study makes more sense, is they also said if you went from when you went from 2 to 3 dispensaries, you had an additional 8.5% decrease in opioid-related fatalities there.
Okay. Okay.
And so basically what this study is showing is have more dispensaries, at least 3 in your county, and you can reduce opioid-related deaths by over 20%. Okay, because
Which will not make the pharmaceutical industry happy at all.
well, it won't make the pharmaceutical industry happy at all, but honestly, they're already in so much trouble from all the shenanigans they've done when it came to opioids and prescription of opioids, that they should, if they wanted to look like they had come around a corner, they should help support this stuff, right? But what it really comes down to is it's because you can treat chronic pain with cannabis, and it's not as nearly as addictive. I can't say it's not addictive because yes, you can be mentally addicted to it, and you can feel like you need it, but I don't think you're physically addicted if you have it. That's my personal opinion, and it's whole true in everything I've ever seen. Some people might mentally be addicted to it, but not physically.
Oh wait, say that again. Your voice just.
I'm saying that some people may be mentally addicted. Like you could be addicted to anything.
Oh right.
So I don't want people to think that I'm like, no, you can't get addicted to it. But you can't be as physically addicted to it. Like I quit smoking cigarettes. That is a physically addictive thing. There's withdrawal. I have had occasions where I haven't had cannabis for a few days, and I don't notice a withdrawal. What I do notice is my chronic shoulder pain shows back up after a couple of days of not utilizing cannabis. So that's what I notice, is that like, oh, that pain that I forgot I was treating because I've been on cannabis for a regular time is coming back. And I think that relates to another study that I want to talk about too. And that study actually just came out from the Harm Reduction Journal. It came out like late April, early this month, right, early May. And what they found was that frequent marijuana users, and I'm assuming they're dividing frequent marijuana users as probably like once a day, maybe even, they might even say 4 times a week is considered frequent. Everybody has a different definition, but I'm guessing frequent, and they didn't say that in the article. I tried to find it, but I'm guessing you're saying at least 4 times a week, right? But even if you say once a day, which to me that would be called frequent. It's once a day or every other day, right? What they found was that frequent marijuana users are more physically active than non-marijuana users. Now, I think that's crazy and cool, and I actually am not surprised by that as well. And I think there's a definite relation to the both studies we're talking about, right? Because when it comes to cannabis usage, you have to look at the fact that it's treating chronic pain amazingly well, right? It just does. And so I think that we need to pay attention to the fact that, hold on a second. There we go, before we hear ourselves talking again. I was just making sure we got on the chat so I could see the chat if anybody wants to pipe in and say what's up. If you're listening, go ahead and tell us where you're coming from if you want. And if you have something you want us to talk about, please feel free to jump in.
Yes, let us know.
We love to talk to our commenters. But really what we're seeing is there's this correlation, right? Cannabis usage helps chronic pain. And so when it comes to opioids, it can take over the need for opioids, or at least lessen your need for opioids, right? So you may not need a super strong prescription if you're able to supplement it with cannabis usage. And of course, if you're going to mix the drugs, talk to your doctor. I'm not your doctor, but I do believe that cannabis is generally
about if you smoke weed, you're just lazy and don't do anything. And I feel like a lot of that, for a certain segment of the culture, is attached to sort of a college age experience and time, right? When, for the most part, your schedule is relatively free and easy. Yes. So, not that people may not have a lot of classes, but you're not working per se.
No.
Right? So you do have time to just sort of chill and whatever.
Yes.
But once you become a working adult in the world, many people smoke and continue to function and do things. Absolutely. Such as going to the gym or a yoga or a Pilates class. Like it helps relax you.
It helps relax you. And here's the thing that's interesting about it all, right? So you also have, again, this study about the frequent marijuana users, what shows up the most about it is frequent users, especially those aged 40 and up, spent more time engaging in physical activity than non-users did. And again, I think that speaks to the chronic pain thing, right? If you're somebody over 40 and you have chronic pain, marijuana actually opens up your life to allow you to go out and enjoy. And I do know one thing, when when I consume cannabis, if I'm not just hanging out at home at night, I want to be out. I want to do things. I don't like it. Doesn't that whole like it just makes you a couch potato is absolutely a false narrative. Okay.
I mean, yes, for some people it may. To me, it's much more enjoyable to be out doing things, to do it with friends as well. You know.
That's exactly right. And I think for me, it just opens it up. Like anything can, I'm one of those people that believes that like almost anything you do can be a little more fun with cannabis. You want to go to the movies?
Sure.
Take an edible, whatever.
No. Makes it much more interesting.
You want to play with your kids at home and do Legos? Trust me, man. If I could sit down and play with Legos with my daughter,
yes,
cannabis helps. It absolutely helps because then you get like into it. You're like, well, honey, let's build this, as opposed to like, okay, I'm playing with a kid's toy.
You know what I bet would be fun? I've never done it with this game though. Is Jenga.
You've never done Jenga? Really?
No. No. I've never smoked and done.
Oh,
Jenga.
You've done. Oh, yeah, doing it. Oh, yes, it's.
I could imagine that would be a very unique experience.
The game might take longer, but
yes.
My daughter loves Jenga. It's fun. But I think look. Besides the fact that it can enhance and make a lot of things that you do more fun, right? The fact it helps you in. I don't take ibuprofen. If I do, it's like something's really wrong. I'm taking it because cannabis isn't doing enough. But cannabis to me is my anti-inflammatory. And I do, like I said, I noticed shoulder pain if I have a couple of days without consuming it. I will notice the pain. I'm not like sitting there like jonesing, like, oh my God, I'm not in the right mood because I don't have my cannabis. I mean, it's more like, oh God, really? That hurts. And so I think that's part of the reason why it absolutely opens it up for people 40 and over. But also, it may be because I'm in Colorado, but if I'm consuming, I want to go out for a hike. I want to be out in the mountains whenever I can. I want to at least go for it, go somewhere, be out, get the fresh air.
At the beach with it.
You like to be at the beach? You see, I'd love to be at the beach with it. I just don't have a beach.
You have a beach.
Being landlocked has its problems sometimes, yes. But
Yes.
but it does. It really opens it up. And and if anybody out there, like, I'd love, if you guys have something, go ahead and comment and tell us what is your favorite activity to do. And I mean activity. I don't mean sitting around playing video games and all that. I mean an activity out of your dwelling that you
Yes.
do, and cannabis makes it more, enhances it. I'd love to
Or
see
it
that.
could be in your dwelling. People work at home or do yoga at home.
Could be
Yeah, but what's
in your
that thing?
dwelling.
Not just sitting on the couch.
Just not sitting on the couch. Exactly. Facebook I don't know if they hate us or what's going on, but I mean, I know my connection's solid, so it's just kind of odd.
What I find most interesting in what you're saying is the fact that we have a country and culture that is so heavily attached to pharmaceuticals, it pushes way out into the public because there's so much money being made. And again, I have nothing against I'm not anti-money,
Right.
but there's so much money being made by getting people hooked on these opioids.
Yeah, absolutely.
They don't need them. They don't need. Well, let me rephrase
No,
that.
people need them. Some people do, but you're right.
The level is too much.
It is
Too much.
And I mean, surprised if there's people who don't know somebody who has been affected by opioid addiction. I do, and especially people I've talked to in the cannabis industry. And this study news to me, by the way, opioid side of things, that the study where there's other studies that have said the same thing and shown clear on that, but
And they give. Right. It's
well,
one thing
you
if
give them too much, yes, absolutely.
too much of unnecessary. It's too easy. Like, I mean, it's not as simple. And they, give you pain pills afterwards. They put it refill. Are you giving people this many
Insane.
of such
So
a
insane.
potent drug? It's crazy.
Yeah, and so look, cannabis is. Look, it's not a panacea, all right. Like they'll say hemp is a panacea for everything that's going on in the world. Like, it's okay. is a panacea. Big problem. It's just a solution to a hell of a lot of problems. And there's a lot of different solutions that, and
Yes.
and so we need to look at it that way. And it shows back up, and so if everybody's having this issues, thank you for keep staying with us. The people are jumping with us. I'm sorry about that, but if it happens again, just know that we're still rolling.
Video.
What's that?
So they keep. I'm seeing it now. They keep coming back as like 4 separate videos now.
I'm not clear on why it's doing all that.
I'm telling you, they're watching.
You think they're watching?
I'm not a crazed conspiracy theorist.
Cut us down because we just made opinionated comments about the vaccine, differing opinionated way, but like that's what it was, and that's.
And they shut it down.
And they shut it.
That Tom Cotton we were talking about before.
Oh, that is American. I would agree with that completely. That is completely, and it's funny, that might be something we would agree with Tom Cotton because he'd be like, of course, because he probably is totally against.
Well, he's just. To veer for 1 second from the conversation, he represents a person who is not. Their worldview is so narrow. A thought that goes against anything that they were. Can't even open their brain at all because it doesn't make sense to them.
Yeah, no. That's funny that you're saying that. We weren't going to talk about this, but we talked about it earlier. I saw this Twitter feed world. I saw a comment that was made. Jen Psaki made. A reporter asked a question about Tom Cotton because he was putting something together about, and it's past. It's obviously a political stunt. See all the work I'm doing to fight, and the same blah blah blah. The same they always say. But he's still trying to pass a bill that is universities merit anything, and un-American him is the 1619 Project or anything that's racist in the country, because in a sense it is un-American. He's hitting the nail on the head. That's not on the head. Absolutely been to admit that we have systemic racism in this country.
Yeah.
So that's just not.
It's on you can question anyone else. Black men, black women, people, Middle Eastern people, question the story of white men in this country. That's considered un-American.
It's American to do that. Well, here's the thing. Like I said, it's actually correct. It is un-American, and that's the problem. That's the part that, part of America that sucks is we can't admit we were wrong. We can't admit we've done some messed up things, and we can't move on. Say anything about it. So we have to hear it from asked about it, and the other policy questions. Hopefully our attorney general will do something. Maybe.
Possibly.
We'll see. Congress is going to completely decriminalize schedule cannabis. Right, but I really do think this is the great. And so I look at it this way, and this is, and please, preference. None of this is considered the objectification of one side or another, but in high school as a straight man conversation.
So marijuana is the hot girl.
Marijuana is the hot girl, or the hot guy, or the hot.
Hemp is the smart kid who got a degree and is now living with.
Yes. The one that you should have been paying attention to and sidling up next to, right?
Okay.
That's my opinion.
I hear that.
You feel me on that? You guys feel me on that? All right.
Yeah.
Hopefully, still our videos. I don't know if our video's on or not. I really don't.
Yeah, it's very bizarre for anyone who might tune in at any point.
It's
There are
like you're gonna see
now
like 7, 8 videos of this. It does say we're live right now, and then every time I go to it, it starts to look. So we're sorry. Really, I don't know what's going on here.
8 or 9 videos of the last 20 minutes
What
of
the
conversation.
friggin's going on here, man? It's so weird.
I'm convinced that there's a level of
Maybe.
social that's happening right now in small scales, but enough to
Maybe.
make
Crazy. I don't know. I'm gonna do a quick.
Whoever's watching, who knows at what point you're joining in, go back and watch one of the other 8 videos.
Go back and watch one of the other 8 videos. I'm literally testing my internet connection right now to make sure it's not me, and it's not me. It's because everything's running out of here, and we're doing just fine. Our speed is ridiculous. Okay, so it's not that.
You
Yeah.
may try next time switching to Instagram Live again to see how that.
You might, we might want to do that. You're absolutely right. Although Instagram is interesting because it makes you have to use your phone, and so like this wonderful setup I have here where we can have, like, I don't know if I can do that or not. I'll have to see how I could. Maybe I could funnel it through the phone with the figure. It's all techie talk.
I mean, I use my phone. I'm using my phone and my computer right now. So.
Yeah, it's true. You are right. So
Yeah.
I guess but everybody can only see you, right? Can they only see you? And on your phone, on your Instagram. You're not doing Instagram Live right now, or you are?
No, I'm not doing Instagram Live right now. Well, they would see whoever's page they log into. They would but they would see both faces talking. They would see both of us on the screen at the same time.
Wow. Well,
they'd log into your page or my page, but they'd see both of us talking.
Yeah, that's so interesting. That's about a whole bunch of.
Yeah. Our apologies to.
We do apologize, guys. Thanks for hanging with us during this, and I'm trying to technically figure it out while we continue our conversation. So we're multitasking, and for all we know, it's gonna play for everybody, and it'll be fine. But yeah, it keeps showing it.
It seems to be managing like a minute.
It's managing like a minute of time, right? Yeah, we're gonna have to figure out what the deal is. Yeah, so we apologize, but we're gonna roll through this conversation, and hopefully it'll work itself out.
Yeah, people will see what they see.
We'll see what they see. Anyway, where were we? I got distracted by technical issues here. We were talking about.
Yeah, what were we talking about?
See, that's it. We talked about the studies. We were going into that, and then right. That's what I was starting to say. That's right. I do think that marijuana is the way to creating some bipartisan agreement in politics right now. Republicans were a little slower because that's kind of their job, I guess, is to be really slower on figuring things out, and sometimes they're glacially slow, and sometimes they never do figure anything out, right?
True.
They're, to my opinion, they're literally walking off a cliff with a moron. Is what they're doing. They've decided we're gonna follow this moron. These are the people who knew the emperor had no clothes, but still followed him.
Yes.
And that's where I look at it now. It's like
and that's my issue with if we're gonna into that conversation right now.
Oh, we're halfway through. We might as well jump in. Who knows if we even.
Right. One of my issues with Liz Cheney, right? I'm not in any way.
Okay, yeah.
But is she? Because if she was doing her job, she never would have sided with him.
Okay.
She voted like 95%
Yeah.
And agreement with everything Trump did.
Yeah. Well, she did her job as a Republican. I'm sorry. She did her job as a within the realm of being a politician and understanding how politics works. And literally sister who was rejected her own sister when it comes to policy. So that's the type of person even her dad didn't say about her sister, really. I mean,
well, no, that's not totally true. He wasn't. He backed away from a lot of conversations about
yes,
Mary, the other daughter, by hiding behind a very early 2000s way of saying, that's no one's business. Right. Someone's sexuality. It's rude for you that question. So that's how they were framing it back then. But he didn't come out in support of, you know,
Yeah, that's true.
equality or anything like that.
That's a good
at
way
all.
to put it. I agree with that statement. Yeah.
And what bothers me about all this, the media like to paint it as Trump become president. A bunch of like, you know, stupid, hick, dumb people who didn't know better.
No, he got
Because of the Cheneys, the Bushes, the Romneys, the Ashcrofts, all these well-heeled, knowledgeable people who voted for him.
Correct. That's true. That's true. Absolutely true. He came out and endorsed him because they decided to endorse him and not work for the country, and that's what it comes down to. This video just ended as well. So hey, hopefully you just jumped into the next video that Facebook is now doing.
It's funny now. We'll have like a bunch of little like short.
Wow, you guys did a bunch of short videos today. You got tons. You know, what the freak is going on? But we're back live. That's what's crazy is we're right back live on Facebook. So it happens instantaneously, I guess, where they shut us off, put us back. I mean, so nobody's watching the new live video at the moment because but I'm right in. It's like this is the. I have no idea what the hell Facebook's doing. But actually, when I look at this video, it looks like we're frozen. So the live video right now looks at us and we're frozen. There we go. We're moving. It maybe it's just taking a while for it to load. I don't know. I have no idea what the hell is happening here. So, see. Anyways, so let's talk a little bit about the destruction of the Republican Party because they are really destroying themselves. I feel. You know, I mean, they're looked at as like. So you have Liz Cheney. She there's one thing that she holds true is that Donald Trump is a horrible human being.
Mm-hmm.
Which she voted for. Which she voted for. Thank you. And she has voted with for a long time. But yeah. So now we're looking at this fact that he's she's now getting ousted. She got ousted. Actually, not getting ousted. She got ousted for that, and they've replaced her with somebody who is solidly a Trump person, right?
Yes.
Elise Stefanik.
Officially replaced her because I know someone was going to challenge.
It happened today. It happened. Oh, could somebody challenge it?
I thought there was some guy who tried to run himself. So
oh no, there was another guy. They're saying that they're going to threaten to primary against him, which is like, so this is how it works for you guys Republicans, right? Like they are just cutthroat on each other if you don't agree, and it's like, and when you say you're trying to bring the party together, that doesn't really make sense. To me, it's like if you're trying to bring the party together, recognize you can't say you have a big tent party if the tent is only about one guy. Like they always try to say they're a big tent party, and I'm like, well,
and they are not. But here's the thing: I feel like so much of it is I don't want to say skillful, but is a intentional game of smoke and mirrors. Because no matter how fractured they appear to be,
right?
If Trump or a Trump-like person runs again.
Wrong in this, I'm sure that's accurate statement.
Another person. I don't know if that's.
Just because we have more voting now. But.
Sure, we got more votes than his numbers didn't go up.
We never had that before, as a So how do we get that again? How do we? And the only way they think they can get that is that Trump. And there is now they're trying to squeeze blood out of a stone as far as Republicans. Right? They're trying to, they are definitely not a majority party. They are absolutely the minority. They have the antiquated election laws that have supporting them, and obviously gerrymandering in districts helps them tremendously, and so. That's what they have going for them. That's why we have anti-voting rules coming up, basically.
And they're creating things that aren't. There's zero reason to be able to go water. It's a false story.
They're not even hiding it, really, in my opinion. This is literally we are attacking people who are voting. That's what it's coming down to. I mean, and when you do a rule, like you can't give water out to somebody who's in need of water while they're sitting in line voting. So when you're doing something like such crazy shit that they're expecting it to have backlash, because Like
Yeah.
I mean,
Or with not deleting. Of you know,
so what I think they should do by
places, right? If you want it,
this is upheld because I know they're already fighting in, of course they are. Place, I think all these people from other states should volunteer and be willing as activists to get arrested for giving out water. And there should be fucking Poland Springs and like that's an East Coast water company. I don't know. Whatever. I don't care. Pull up with some fucking water in huge trucks and just start handing it out.
yeah,
Violate it as a protest and make them arrest thousands of people for handing out water.
for handing water.
Handing out water. And that's what you do to combat it, is like really just come after it. Show the absurd.
Combat the lunacy that will then come forward from the brats who own Poland Springs.
Poland Springs. That's totally. I haven't seen Poland Springs out here in the West. So.
Which also kills. I just have to say this as a quick aside. I have such issue with the fact that water costs money. It's water.
It's water. Well, I mean, it costs money to put in a bottle and put it in a store and keep it in refrigeration. That's what costs money, right? The water itself. Oh no, it is, right? I mean, how many times like I've seen the memes or whatever of people they're just water from a tap into a bottle and handing it out. And it's essentially what they're doing. I mean, really. I mean,
Yes, and I've always thought that if I had the ability to own a water company or plant or whatever it would be called, I would figure out what percentage of the profits, and then the rest I would give to education.
Yeah, please do.
You could fund so many things. There's so many easy ways to things.
Yeah.
Right. So it would be in paper.
From as you could do there's like a box type that you could do, and you could put there's a couple companies that are doing boxed water, and it's almost like a carton, like for milk in a way. But it's lined or something. It's so it's recyclable. It's 99 cardboard in a sense. We need to see that.
Of that, because, for example, like when people say I can't have my juice in paper, it's crazy. I'm like, well, if you went to any public school, for the most part, you had your milk and your juices in a little paper container.
Yeah,
so it's possible. This is if they can make the paper container cylindrical. So I can put it in my bag when I go to the gym.
Why couldn't you? Yeah, but it would still crush more, right? So that's the problem. You really want to have biodegradable plastic, and that's a hard one too, because biodegradable plastic tends to have a different texture, and it's made to break down, and so you have to be concerned about that for storage. So sometimes plastic is great, like for FEMA, like it makes years and years ready to go if you need to get it out. So I'm not, we can't just get rid of it all right now, but we need to start finding replacements. Hemp being a perfect replacement for biodegradable plastics, right?
Right.
And so I think that's something that really needs to be paid attention to. I'm not even sure if we're live right now, buddy, so I'm just going to keep refreshing.
Oh, no.
It's like, is it live? It's like we got 7 videos in a row now. We're going to try that too next week. Maybe we'll do that because, wow. But for another 30 seconds, obviously nobody's joining us now. I mean, hopefully session as we're going right now. I'm like, fuck. Start going. Okay. It's
oh, the wonders of modern technology.
Wonders of modern technology. Who knows? Anyway, yes, hemp can solve a lot of those problems, right? I mean, you have this biodegradable plastic clear plastic bottle, obvious for some obvious reasons, until you. So, yeah, that's one thing. So, education, you know, of education, you know, of Gates and Marjorie Taylor Greene, but they're pick up the. Hey, we're now the Republican Party because we're the two most horrible people in the room now. You know, I mean, it's kind of like, I think that's what you are as a human being. Yeah. Just easily bullied, and I think that's what it comes down to, right? They're allowing themselves to be bullied.
They let a person who, you know, I maintain that people's like for Trump was not his business. He was vile and said whatever he wanted. That was taken away from them. His ability to just say whatever stupid thing out of his mouth, followed by the next stupid thing, and so now everybody wants to do it. If he got to do it, it'd be then Matt Gaetz and what's the other guy's name? He's so crazy.
What's his first name? Wait, okay, go on. Sorry, finish first.
John Kennedy.
John Kennedy. Is it really John? See, that almost is like, it's like he shouldn't have his name taken away from him.
I know. Somewhere in the country, and he was, you know, a citizen who was looking. This guy said, send him there to write. Really? Wow. So that's where we are now.
That's crazy. We didn't see what's right. By the way, video is working just fine. So you can visit us at HC Magazine. In fact, let me see if I can do a picture of this. No, the stream on our end. This is all a Facebook issue. So for everybody out there. I can't type and talk at the same time.
That's hilarious. Well, I will talk while you're typing.
Thank you.
But yes, so when interesting, like you don't want to send people to. You just want them to only do what you want. Correct or not.
Exactly.
Which is like. I want to say we as a country are devolving, though in some ways we are, but this party is, they've abandoned all of anything.
I mean, we talked about this last week. Mitch McConnell last week said the same thing he said, basically, about the Obama administration. He said 100%, meaning all, right, in of our all, right, in of my effort is to defeat the Biden administration. We're here to just stop things. Then you still have somebody like Joe Manchin, who is like, yep, the filibuster is really important to what? Help the Republican Party accomplish that goal. That's basically what you should fish it. So if there's an operative out there, Joe Manchin. And what's her name? The other one. It's always Manchin who's really super firm on it. Cinema. There's Cinema. Yes, thank you.
Yeah.
Yes. But yeah, as soon as like that's when Joe Manchin should be okay. I'm done. Filibuster's done. I've held out for a minute.
But this is what they do, because then walked back slightly. I don't remember his exact statement, but he tried to reframe it as, you know, as that's what the people want.
Fascinating.
So
I'm sure that's what.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what's going to become of them, but I'm not willing to buy into, like, the same thing with Liz Cheney. Like, wonderful that she suddenly, you know, found some gumption. Like,
yeah.
But no, because what is it? Because I would love to ask Liz Cheney, what changed?
Next.
Direction? But see, she's saying that it was that he lied.
Yeah,
Like
you
he's
can't say that.
I'm like he has lied his whole life.
Yeah, he has lied his whole life. So you can't say, oh, he's a liar, and that's why I'm now against him. So,
Yeah.
um, so yeah, that,
So I don't know how they come back from it, but they're definitely they're all going to vote for him,
they are
or
all
whoever
going
is
to vote for him.
the. I still think they're going to try to figure out how to make it a softer, gentler female Trump.
So you don't think he's going to run? If he's not going to run, then Nikki Haley's running. That's what's going to happen.
Yeah, but she keeps waffling what she's going to do.
Well, because she doesn't know what he's going to do. She said she won't run if Trump runs, which I believe. She's not going to run if Trump's running because everybody's afraid of him in the Republican Party. They're absolutely afraid of him. And
do you have any thoughts as to why?
They're afraid of his base. They're not afraid of him. They're afraid of the base that are they're not there for the Republican Party. They're there for Trump. I think I want to say at least 20% right now of the Republican Party that they're looking at that are absolutely there for Trump. The voters. They're new voters. They had not voted before. You'll see articles of this person, she didn't vote. I saw this one, that was at a rally for Gates and Green, and she's like a woman who looks like she's in her 50s, and she, she didn't vote for Bush or she didn't vote for Obama. She didn't vote for, but she votes for Trump because she thinks he's there for the party, and so they when you court the morons, you have to follow their morons leader, all right? And that's the problem. And because I'm sorry, I'm not saying they're all morons. I'm not saying, like you said earlier, right? 20%. I mean, I'm saying 20. Like, I think there's 20% of the party that are like straight up just MAGA, die hard, is Trump or like that's it. They bleed orange. Okay, they don't bleed red. They bleed orange. And
it's a horrible thought.
it is horrible. And it's messed up because we're from Syracuse, so fuck you for taking orange away from us. Damn it! Come on, man. But they do. They bleed orange.
Connected to the. Do you think that were there no electoral college, they'd be as beholden?
No, absolutely.
Right.
Absolutely. They're a victim of their own tactics now, to hold on to the electoral college and do that. It's kind of silly for them, really. I mean, but that's what they are. I mean, they're looking at it like we need all of these people because otherwise, they don't get the electoral college if they don't get some of these, full on, the ones who believe.
Which is why the electoral college is such a bullshit because as people move and newer people come to different, none of this. Our country should not hinge on a random guess of who is living in which state or county.
Well, it's not a random guess, though, is it? I mean, it's absolute. I mean, well, when it comes to the presidential, I mean, but when it comes to like redistricting and how they do it, the way districts are done, I mean, if you have that like show why people like Jim Jordan get to be elected, there's a strip. There's like a little. The Jim Jordan's district is crazy. Like I saw it, and I can't remember the exact picture, but it was really bizarre the way, because it's a shape. It's not like a square or like just kind of a round border. It was like this crazy like narrow river of red, and, avoiding all and it was just.
And none of us as citizens don't have enough say or input in the creation of those districts.
Right, and then there are states that have now bipartisan commissions that are law for them to write up the districts together, whether Republican or Democrat is in power, and that's a really big step towards fixing that issue. But of course, the states that have that are states that we probably aren't even having issues with, where it's already been unfair. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
And so it's things. It's like we need to. You need to get power to be able to get rid of these stupid systems, but you can't get rid of those systems because they're set up to not, so you can't have the power to do it. And that's one of the things that really drives
Would you ever
the
run
story.
for office?
Me? Would I ever run for office? back in the day, there was a conversation that had been had where I had a few people asking me that during the legalization efforts here, and like, well, you're somebody in the media, it would be a great thing. I was like, yeah, but I don't want to. Like, like, see, here's the thing, I hate auditioning. This work just to get a freaking job, and like, so would I like probably the job of being in politics and working to help push policy forward? Yeah, but I hate the politics of it, and I wouldn't, the fundraising of, like, give me millions of dollars to have a job that only pays me thousands of dollars a year. That the concept of that is just crazy to me. So I would love to be able to be in governance if you could govern, right? Because then you feel like you can make a difference, but it's all the stuff that goes on behind the scenes. That is why I wouldn't want to do it. And to me, it's part of the reason why I think the smartest people on the planet don't get into politics. And I'm not saying them, but I mean,
But it's such a double-edged sword, right?
It is.
People have in the past and continue to very much in the present try to talk me into running for office, but I don't see myself in that vein. Like, I'm an artist, I'm not a politician.
Yeah.
But to me, the most difficult part of it is the having to cozy up to people who you don't like to get their vote. Like,
yeah.
I could only run in the most liberal of districts, because if I have to convince some, whatever, even if it's something that's whatever, I was going to try to pick a topic, but that's not important. If someone just has something that is and be antithetical to everything I've been, I can't cozy up to you to get you to vote.
And I get that. I'd like to think I could be diplomatic. I mean, I'm able to hang with people of varying belief systems, and like I try to put myself in their shoes, where sometimes I'm like, I crazy shoes on, even and maybe that's a little of the acting training though too, is like, how do you think, man? Where did you come from to get this? It's kind of like you gotta have to get in that character, I mean, you don't play a murderer as a murderer, you play it as somebody who like feels like they're justified in what they're doing.
Exactly.
And so if you recognize that the person in the other aisle has some bizarre justification, whether it's just because they're power hungry or not, I think you can sometimes get. So I'd like to think that I could have some skill at that. Like, I know you don't have that skill as much. You don't have the patience for that, like you said.
I used to.
Right.
I used to. I'm not.
Right.
I'm the person that I was in the past.
But you know what? I don't think that most of our they don't sit down, or I try to be as unbiased as possible when I think of it as a media personality, right? Where I'm like, well, but I think that we're at a point where the Republican Party has taken it to this level where you don't get to have equal weight to your voice right now. I think that's where the media needs to come from as well, because they point. First of all they've done is just shit on the media on a regular basis anyway. And so but the media keeps saying, okay, well, you have this right to talk about this, this, like, there's certain things that the media stopped doing, by the way, and I think we're already starting to see like movement towards. You don't see climate deniers on the news anymore, right? Like, you don't really see it. So like, it's something, think about it, people. When's the last time you've had to see somebody else make an argument against climate change? Unless maybe you're strictly like a Newsmax watcher or something, where they're still going to spout whatever. But like, it's no longer really the argument against it. The argument against it now is measures really necessary? Are they good? You know what I mean? It's not as much of like, no, it doesn't exist. Like, you can't deny climate change exists. Because it does.
And they had too many years of, which is what led a piece led to the Trump presidency, of having to, well, we need to hear both sides. Like, no,
you don't. You don't need to hear a lie anymore.
Is flat.
Yeah.
We don't need to hear from them.
No, we don't need to hear from them. I'm sorry, there's this side and then there's this side. It's like that this side doesn't get to talk as much as this side in my, in that realm. Now if this side was being persecuted, that's a different story, right? That's different. But the flat earthers aren't being persecuted as much as just made fun of. That's
they're really not.
They keep saying, well, they're liberal, and it's like, yeah, they're only liberal to you because you're crazy right. But like when you look at our liberal party, or look at our moderate liberal party, our moderate liberal party is what was considered, I mean, it's changed in the last few years too in other countries, but was considered more on the conservative side in European countries. And so they would look at like our centrist Democrats, or even just left, a little left of center, were considered, would be the Republicans of other countries, in different levels. So I think we need to recognize that we have just gone to this crazy extreme, and it is happening around the world now again. And I think it's systemic. It's because of the way social media is done. It's the way that they're information for people and how they're getting that information. And so I think that's something that we need to work on a regular basis. Fox News occasionally. I watch Fox News, and I mean, watch it as much lately. Honestly, I gotta be honest. I haven't.
No, I every once in a while just to sort of hear where their craziness is currently at. But
yeah. Like highlight reels. Like, okay, what nutty things they said. But honestly, okay, here's where you're coming from, but here's how you're trying to skew things, But if you watch if you're just gonna watch Tucker Carlson, then you're basically watching a white.
There to see how they're framing news, right?
Yeah. You just have to see it. But it's important, and I'll tell other people like, well, you weren't watching that? Yeah, I'm not gonna read the New York Times. I'm like, what? You mean the award-winning New York Times that have, like, proven over and over again that they speak and tell the truth? And oh, by the way, when something good happens that the New York Times cites, your site is the New York Times wrote about it. So, but only when it's something on your favor, or the Washington Post.
Still have a because I read the New York Times, but I really degree of remove because they're brilliant at writing headlines that I don't agree with, that are not journalism.
I agree with that too.
But they pretend they're.
They all do that though now. It's all clickbait for everybody to get you and watch, and it's like, and unfortunately that's just part of it now, right? And it drives me crazy. Like who's really good at clickbait? And it's funny because all it does is say like, and on his Twitter feed to get people to like look at his. I think he's part of the website Comic Sans, comicsand.com I think it's called. But he'll just do a quote. He's like, "Oh no, you didn't," and then there's a link, and of course, or he said what, and you're just like, and people will be like, yep, or his most popular one is, who's gonna tell him? And then it'll be like a stupid statement that somebody made, and it's actually entertaining and stuff. But I'm still like, I'm laughing. I'm like, did I just fall for your fucking clickbait again? And it was like, but
he's not pretending to be a journalist.
He's not pretending to be a journalist, but he's sending you to a site that he just saw and he likes and he's supporting, and you do it. But it's